Hey class, today we're going to review the area and perimeter formulas and finding area and perimeter of different shapes. And then within this video, I'm going to have some assessment questions with you for you. So I encourage you to pause it and make sure you have like some scratch paper. You can pull your calculator up when you need it, or you can have like a marker because you will be required to do some of the work and answer questions along the way. All right, so the first thing we'll review is area or perimeter. So perimeter, remember, or circumference is the distance around a shape. So if I ask you for the perimeter of this rectangle, I'm asking you to find all the way around how much that is. So the whole distance around it. Now what we need to remember about a rectangle is that the sides opposite are congruent. So like this side and this side are congruent, and this side and this side are congruent. So that means that this side up here is also 4.2 inches and this side is also 2.6 inches. And to find the perimeter, I'm going to add up all of the sides together. So I'm going to do 4.2 plus 2.6 plus 4.2 plus 2.6. So to find the perimeter, I'm going to add the 4.2 plus 2.6 plus 4.2 plus 2.6. Or you could do 2 times 4.2, because 2 of those, plus 2 times 2.6, 2 of those. So if I add those all up, so 4.2 plus 2.6 plus 4.2 plus 2.6. And we get 13.6 inches. And remember, perimeter is measured in linear units, which means it's one-dimensional. So our labels are just in regular inches. So it'd be 13.6. If we did 2 times, whoops, I gotta clear my calculator. If I did 2 times 4.2 plus 2 times 2.6, I would get the same answer as well. So perimeter of a parallelogram, you just add up all of the sides. Perimeters of triangles work very similarly, but they have 3 sides. So in this case, we do have 2 sides that are the same, but sometimes, and likely not all triangles have sides that are equal. And so we're just going to add up the 3 sides of the triangle. So in the perimeter in this one would be 5.3 plus 5.3 plus 3. Of course, my pen died, so I guess I'll just use my calculator to find the answer here. So I'm clear of that. So I got 5.3 and 5.3 would be 10.6 plus 3 should be 13.6. I'm just going to check my math. So 5.3 plus 5.3 plus 3 would be 13.6. I'm like, is that the same? It's the same perimeter as my other shape. I did not plan that. So we got a perimeter of 13.6. This triangle is measured in centimeters. So I would label this as perimeter equals a 13.6 centimeters. Okay, now you try. I would like you to find the circumference of this rectangle for me. All right, now I'm going to do the circumference of a couple other shapes. The first shape I have here is this, I was going to say pentagon, but I think it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so hexagon. 6 sides, and these marks on the shape mean that these sides are all congruent. So I have 6 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that are all 7 inches. And I want to find the perimeter. So to find the perimeter, I could take those 7s and add them all up, or I have 7 sides. I have 6 sides, and each side is 7 inches. So 7 times 6, my perimeter would be 42 inches. So I could add up 7 6 times and get the same answer as well. So perimeter is distance around. So I'm adding up all the total distance to find the perimeter. Now in a circle, it's actually called the circumference. And to find circumference of a circle, we have a couple different formula options. We have circumference is either equal to 2 times pi times the radius, or we could do circumference is equal to diameter times pi. And the reason we can do either formula is because whenever you take 2 times the radius, that equals the diameter. So the radius is halfway, and then 2 of those would be the diameter. So right here, I gave you halfway, so that would be the radius equals 8. Now if you took 8, the radius times 2, you would get diameter, which would equal 16. So diameter would be double that length, so the whole way across. So radius would be halfway, and the diameter is the whole way. So to find the distance around the circle, you can either take 2 times the radius to get the diameter, then times it by pi, or you can just take the diameter times pi. And if you're given the diameter, that's the easiest way to do it. If you're given the radius, then you have to double it anyway, so using this formula is a better choice. So we're going to do it in both and show that they are equal. Remember, for the pi, we're going to use the decimal 3.14. And so we got circumference equals 2 times 3.14 times my radius of 8. So if I did 2 times 8, I'd get 16, and then 16 times 3.14, or just typing it in as I see it. So I'm trying to move that. 2 times 3.14 times 8 gives me a circumference of 50.24, and that would be in centimeters because it's just the distance around the circle, so the outside of the circle. So that's in centimeters. Now if I use my other formula, circumference would equal the diameter, which is 2 of the radiuses, so it'd be 16 times pi, which I'm going to use 3.14. So then if I do 16 times 3.14, I get the same answer. So the circumference of my circle using either formula is 50.24 centimeters. All right. Now I would like you to try one. Find the circumference of this circle. I'm giving you the diameter is equal to 12. Use the appropriate formula and choose the correct circumference. All right, next we're going to review area. So area, we have a couple different formulas and a couple different shapes that we looked at. So first we'll review the area of parallelograms and then the area of a circle. So for area of parallelograms, it's going to be base times height. Now, parallelograms are any four-sided shape where the sides are parallel. So sometimes they look like this. They can be a diamond shape. The sides are parallel, which means like this side's opposite will never intersect. So these two lines are run parallel, and then these two lines run parallel. So you can see a square is a parallelogram. These sides are parallel, and so these sides are parallel. And to find the area of a parallelogram, you take its base, which is the bottom of the shape, and then times its height. And the height is always the perpendicular distance from the top of the opposite of the base to the bottom. So this would be the height in this parallelogram that I drew. And so for a square, the base here is 9, and the height is also 9 because squares have the same side lengths. So to find the area of the square, we would do 9 times 9, and that would be 81. And since it is area, we are measuring the inside, and this is like having 9 by 9, so it's measuring in square centimeters. So we would write our units as centimeters squared. So our area of that circle would be 81 centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Because for area, we're measuring the distance, or the amount inside the shape, the total area, not just the linear distance around. So the inside of the shape is measured in square units, so square centimeters. Okay. For a circle, the area of a circle is given by the formula area equals pi r squared, where r is specifically the radius. Now, unlike circumference, area of a circle only has one formula. So for the area of the circle, we need to use this formula, which means in this circle, I gave you the diameter, so I gave you the total distance. So if all the way across is the diameter equals 12, then we have to cut that in half to figure out what the radius is, because I only want halfway for the area formula. So if the whole way is 12, I divide 12 by 2, and I get a radius equal to 6. So now I can plug that into my formula. So I'm going to do area of the circle is going to be pi, so I'm going to use 3.14, and then I'm going to do times 6 squared. Then I have to remember that in order of operations, exponents come before multiplication. Think about PEMDAS, and that stood for parentheses exponents, then multiply. So we're going to do 6 squared first. And remember, 6 squared means 6 times 6. So you could rewrite this as 3.14 times 6 times 6. And that's 3.14 times 36. So pulling up my calculator, I got to clear that, I think. 3.14 times 36 gives me 113.04, and then this was in inches, so it'd be in square inches because area is always in squared units. Now some calculators do have a exponent, so you could plug it in like that. You could do 3.14 times 6. This calculator, I think the exponent button's right up here, so you do that and then do 6 to the second power. Notice that it's like up in the exponent, it's a smaller 2, and then we get the same answer. So that's an option too, but if you're unfamiliar with your exponent buttons on your calculator, stick to just multiplying the 6 times 6 out first. All right, I would like you to try the area of this circle and choose the correct answer. So take some time and answer that question. And then the last thing we're going to review is finding the area of these two shapes. So I first have a triangle for you. So the area formula for a triangle, remember we introduced this as how a triangle is if you have a square or a rectangle, and you know that the area for that shape is base times height, base and height, and then you take that shape and you cut it in half, then you can see how you have a triangle that's made there. And that shape is half of the circle. So if I just wanted the area of just that triangle, I would take the area of the square, base times height, and then I would divide it by 2 to get the triangle. So that's where we get the area of a triangle formula. So base times height, and we divide that by 2. And so to do the area for this triangle, the base is going to be my 10. My height is always my perpendicular distance. So notice I have that right angle there. So this is a right triangle. So that's good. So 4.2 is my height. And so if I take area, it's going to be 10 times 4.2. So base times height. And then I'm going to get that answer and divide it by 2. So multiplying 10 by 4.2 makes that 42. And then divide by 2. And feel free to check that in your calculator. And then 42 divided by 2 is 21. And it was centimeters times centimeters again. So we have centimeters squared again, or square centimeters is how you're supposed to say it. So 21 square centimeters is the area of that triangle. And the last example I have for you for area is a trapezoid. So a trapezoid is kind of a unique shape. It has 2 parallel sides. It's got 4 sides and 2 of them are parallel. So the 2 that are parallel are the top and the bottom, and those are your bases. And then it's got 2 slants, and these ones kind of run in the same direction, so that, or like different directions, so that eventually if you were to continue these lines, they would eventually meet, so they're not parallel lines. And so to get the area of a trapezoid, we call this top, we call this base 1, and then we call this base 2. And to get the area of the trapezoid, the first thing you have to do is add up the sum of base 1, so B1, plus the sum of base 2. So you have to add those up. Then you take that times the height. And in a trapezoid, similar to a triangle, it's always the perpendicular distance from base 1 to base 2. So it's always like this distance straight up and down. So you can't use the slant heights as a height. It has to be the vertical distance. It has to be vertical. It has to be perpendicular to the bottom. And so that's your height. So you take your sum of your base 1 and your base 2, and then you multiply it by the height, and then you go ahead and divide that by 2. And so we're going to practice that here with these numbers. So my area is going to be, this is going to be my base 1, 4.5. Base 2 is going to be 7.5. And then 3 is going to be my height. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to put it in parentheses so I remind myself that parentheses comes first. I'm going to do this math first. So I'm going to do 4.5 plus 7.5. So the base 1 plus base 2. And then I'm going to times that by my height. And then I'm going to divide the whole thing by 2. So first step, I'm going to finish that addition. So 4.5 plus 7.5. So I'm going to get 8 plus 4 should be 12. So 4.5 plus 7.5 give me 12. So then I have 12, then times 3, and then divided by 2. So now I'm going to do the 12 times 3 piece. So I'm going to take my answer and, whoops, can I use this number? I don't know how to do that. Okay, 12 times 3, whoops, is going to give me 36. And then finally, I'm going to take that and divide it by 2. Oh, okay, so make sure you do this and then use this answer button if you need to use that answer. So I did 12 times 3 equals, and then I wanted the answer divided by 2. So make sure to use this answer button. Don't just do divided by 2 because then it pulls up the original and you could get the wrong answer that way. So we get 18 and my units were inches. So it'd be in square inches or inches squared. So I want to make sure that my units for area are in square inches and my units for perimeter are in single, like just inches, like linear patterns. Okay. Last one, you try to find the area of this trapezoid for me then using the trapezoid area formula. Thanks for watching.